Why don't we step into our next segment, the teaching moment, which Angel will be talking about troubleshooting velocity once again. And today, Angel, you will be talking about the glove arm.
Yes, one of my favorite topics. We've talked about this before in past years, but I want to talk about it and maybe add some new things to it. And because I am doing this series on troubleshooting velocity, it's a critical piece of what you need to look at as a coach when you're looking at your pitcher and you're trying to see where he is possibly not letting go of the velocity he already has in him. And the whole premise of this, Joe, I've mentioned it before when I started wanting to do a series on this, is that, there's so many gimmicks these days and so many things that we do to try to get pitchers to throw harder. Not we, but others.
Right.
But they try to get pitchers to throw harder. And so they're bringing in all these implements and things and tricks and whatever, when really and truly the first thing every coach needs to do when you have a pitcher who has more in him, or he says he has more in him, is to look at his mechanics to see where is he leaving miles per hour on the mound because he is not using his body efficiently. And so some of these topics we've talked about with the front foot, the rear leg, the rotation is critical. If any of those pieces aren't happening, they need to happen before you can actually say, okay, he's reached his peak velocity. Now we've got to do something extra. You cannot have things that aren't being done correctly and expect a pitcher to reach his peak velocity. Also, if you give him something extreme to do and his mechanics aren't efficient when he's just throwing a ball, and then you give him a heavier ball or you give him some way to be more out of control, every problem he has is going to become more serious. That is why my role with my pitchers, they come to me and they all know they're not coming to me for anything exotic. They're coming for me to make sure that their engine is completely tight, their car's running smoothly, everything's perfect. The way you bring your car in for a tune-up to make sure that before you sell it or before you think this car's a piece of junk, that you go, no, I'm going to have everything checked out on it first. And then all of a sudden, it drives perfectly. So that is what my role is. So this last few weeks, I'm always busy at this time of the year. People are transitioning from their spring season into their summer ball season. Some of them are graduating, going off. I'm very busy at this time of the year. And it's always either my arm's been sore or I need more velocity before I head to school for tryouts or whatever. And so this last few weeks, I have seen more pitchers improperly using their glove arm. And I have never had a pitcher who, when I showed him on video the way his glove arm is acting, and show him the difference and give him a way to feel the difference in doing it correctly, I have never once had a pitcher go, oh, this doesn't do anything. And I'm talking about the style of glove arm where you actually stop the glove arm. And the issue I've seen in this last week is where not only is the glove arm stopping and not completing its full movement, but actually pulling the glove into the sternum area. And the sternum, of course, is that bone right in the middle of your chest. And the pitcher will move his glove in such a way, and he stops it right there as he's turning his body to throw the ball. So if you're standing to the side of the pitcher when he's pitching, and you're standing on the glove arm side, what you will see is when he turns and releases the ball, and you're looking at it from the side, you will not be able to see his glove. It'll be up against the sternum, or it'll be blocked by he'll have it blocked right by his stomach area, and you won't see the glove coming underneath the arm, and you will see that it is actually stopping the forward motion of the body. And it also stops the rotation of the upper trunk area. So when you have a pitcher and you're doing some of the things you're doing to try to make sure he's doing everything he can so that the ball he's throwing will actually, without doing anything extra, that same fastball will travel faster once you correct some of these things that we've talked about. So when he lands better, when he uses his rear leg better, the same pitch is actually going to be a better pitch. The glove arm is critical to having the pitching arm be able to go as forward as possible. And if the glove arm is blocking the body, now I know there years ago, a coach was teaching, take the glove and stop the glove and bring your body to the glove. Now, I don't know if he actually meant it that way, but it's the craziest thing. And the way pitchers hear it is they actually do not complete the motion of the glove. So the glove is moving the shoulder blade. The glove arm is moving the shoulder blade. So if we talk about a right-handed pitcher, when the right arm goes forward, the shoulder blade is moving forward with it. When the left arm is pulling in, the left shoulder blade is moving inward towards the spine. As it does that, it's actually creating some movement for the right side. So we've talked about this before, so everybody picture this. If you watch someone climbing a rope, as they pull their right arm down on the rope, the left shoulder rotates upward. If you put your arms in front of you and you just put them straight out in front of you and you just go push, 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 right arm, left arm, you'll notice that they are working on a rotational axis because the shoulder girdle works in that way. Now, to prove my point about the problem with a glove arm that doesn't move all the way, and the reason why we want the glove arm to move through a full range of motion is because we want the pitching arm to release the ball as close to the plate as possible. So we're going to do this. And Joe, if you're able to do it, because I want to make sure I'm saying it clearly, this is a little test, and you're always great to do it. So take your right arm and just put it up in the air, straight out, as if it's your release point and you're a pitcher.
Okay.
And take your left arm and make a fist with it, just so it's a fist, and put it right on your sternum.
Okay.
Okay? Yep. So, all right. Now, reach your right arm as far out as you can. So you're going to feel your shoulder blade kind of follow the arm out. Feel that?
Yeah.
That's as far as your arm can go. You got it to full range?
Yes.
Now, take that glove arm and remove the fist and put your elbow straight behind you so the fist is underneath your arm, and see how much more you can reach with your right side.
Oh, boy.
I
think I got another half foot.
You got another half foot. And this is not a lie. The way that I think I may have said this on a podcast, but it was years ago. A pro pitcher came to see me, of course, not knowing what I could do for him. And I saw that he wasn't releasing as close to the plate as possible. And this is also, releasing close to the plate is critical. So we've got the front leg issue, but the glove is critical. And being able to see where the release point is with his style and then changing the style, he was blown away. He hired me within 2 minutes. Those are the kinds of adjustments that are not reinventing the wheel for the pitcher. He's already pulling his glove arm in. He's just in the wrong lane with it. And I have many pitchers that say to me, this is like the most unbelievable thing. And they can see in the video when I show them from behind how they're rotating into the delivery, but their body stops. So the left side should continue rotating. So you've got one side going forward and the other arm coming back. And for you scientists out there and people who know anatomy, the pitching arm is what's called protracting and the glove arm is retracting. And when you are doing one action with one arm and you're trying to get some speed, rotation, you've got to allow that shoulder girdle to move easily. It's one arm's going forward, the other arm's coming backward, and that's a very natural motion. It's unnatural to stop a body part in the middle of a motion where everything's moving quickly. It would be sort of like, it's weird, but if you go out and walk and put your arm up there by the sternum and just walk, you will feel the difference just because your arms aren't swinging back and forth. We all know that when babies are born, the crawling of one arm and opposite arm, opposite hand, and when the knees are working, they can diagnose issues with babies who aren't crawling correctly. We have this sort of opposite kind of, alternating motion that occurs very easily with the body. So to take a motion like a throwing motion where the left arm's in front to start and the right arm's behind, and you want the right arm to go forward, it's natural that the left arm pull backward and go through a similar range as the pitching arm side. So for all you coaches, this is one very important thing to do. And because there's so many old school coaches out there who actually maybe learned from this very famous coach about pull your body to the arm. I don't know if what it sounds like is what he meant, but this is what's repeated that he said. And also to pull the glove to the front, because when I show pictures, I just showed someone this yesterday and they could totally see. I said, do you think your glove arm is helping you? He said, absolutely not. The other thing is if your glove arm is doing something strange, it can cause your body and space to be in the wrong position. So sometimes a glove arm pulls in. And so there are many glove arm errors. The one I'm addressing today is the one that I have never addressed, which is it's stopping and coming into the body, into the trunk. You'll see the glove getting in the way of the forward tilt. You'll also see it getting in the way of the rotation. But any glove arm that's not doing something right, if you see a glove arm that completely falls down and the glove is way down by the glove arm side ankle or below his knee, that pulls the tilt over to that side instead of going forward. So the glove arm is a critical piece of the body that helps the right arm or the pitching arm do what it needs to do. So for right-handed pitchers, your glove arm's out, you pull it in, and as you're pulling it in, and I suggest you don't even do anything with your pitching arm, put it down at your side, stick your glove arm straight out, pointing towards the hitter, and then just pull it in and notice that when you pull it in and pull it all the way, it's actually rotating the right side. So it can actually help. And so, of course, the lefties, put your right arm out, pull it in, you'll notice it brings the left side around. So I think this is a critical thing, and I see this. I see this on, I would say, 85% of pitchers that come to me, improper glove arm. And when you make that adjustment, I've never had anyone who didn't love it. And one of the ways I teach it is I have them take their glove off so that they aren't doing anything weird with their wrist. And I have them actually just pitch without a glove on so they can start to get the motion, because when they don't have the glove on, it's easier to come under right next to your body. The forearm ends up looking sort of parallel to the ground, and it's tucked under the left arm. And each person has a different range, but you'll just notice that they're not being stopped. And that's really the thing I want coaches to just look at. Look at it from where I said, go to their glove arm side, stand sideways to, be on their rear side, and look to see what they're doing with their glove. You should see the elbow going behind the body. And then go from the front and just walk around and look at them and see if their glove arm side and the glove arm trunk side is going through full range of motion, because you won't see that. You will see the glove come in and you will see it stop. And then the only thing left to deliver the ball is the pitching arm. And this is when we say he's all arm. The trunk delivers the forces to the shoulder. You can't stop that process just as it's getting to the shoulder. And that's what happens when you don't let the glove arm completely go through its range of motion and you stop it in front of the body, or you hit the body as it's coming through so that the glove never passes the body. Does that make sense, Joe?
Yeah, it comes from the old school coaching cue that you bring your chest to your glove. Mm-hmm. And I think it started because you had a lot of pitchers that were doing some crazy things with their glove arm that was taking them off balance. Like maybe they would fly out or drop it down. So I guess it came about because it was like, all right, well, put your glove, aim your glove to the catcher and then bring your body to the glove. And then somehow that was, bring your chest to your glove or something along those lines. And then all of a sudden there were a lot of major league pitchers doing the same thing and succeeding and throwing with a lot of velocity in spite of that. And I think that, that's the big part is you see a lot of coaches and pitchers looking at what major leaguers are doing. And as we've talked about many times on this show, just because a successful pitcher is doing something doesn't mean he's doing it right. In fact, he's often, just has the athletic ability to have a flaw and overcome it for one reason or another.
Right. Well, the pitchers you're seeing on TV right now are still part of the generation where there wasn't as much science involved. And, I always say this to sort of make sure all the coaches out there understand. I don't expect anybody to know the things I'm talking about. Baseball, what we see when I'm looking at something and I see an error like this isn't a criticism of a coach who teaches that. You teach what you know when you're in that certain position. So if a pitching coach way back, this is something they were taught, then they go on and they teach that. And yes, it can actually, usually it's taught to do something to avoid something they were doing. A lot of things that are taught in sports motion when they're not taught scientifically are to avoid a movement that you don't want so that you can get the movement you want. When you know about how movement is created, you can actually just go ahead with designing the movement that you want for efficiency. So a lot of things are done to stop a problem, just like, let's move you to this side of the rubber because you're missing outside, or let's have you land way over here because you're doing this. And so they're Band-Aids rather than the correction. And I don't expect coaches to know these things. This is why I hope you have me in your life so that I can explain some things and give you new ways to look and do things, which is I'm always following the rules of the bones. I'm always following structural rules. So you're absolutely right, Joe. And again, the gloves are so big to the little kids that they're doing weird things with them. Sometimes stopping that glove is important because the glove's bigger than their head. When I see these little kids, and that's why we have weird things with the wrist. There's nothing more strange than the way pitchers move their glove arm. It's like nothing else in life. We don't do anything in life with some of the actions I see with the glove arm, with the fingers bending and it cupping and doing just very odd things. So, and it stays with pitchers from the very start. So youth coaches, really, this is an important time to teach the right mechanics. But I don't expect people to know these things. And yes, baseball is still a sportive tradition. We're just now getting, like the pitchers, I always say I'm engineering pitchers. Well, the pitchers that I've worked with, they're the ones, they have a little more advanced mechanics. They're doing things a certain way. They're a little more clean because they've been taught that from the beginning. So when you're looking at someone who's in the majors right now who might be 35 years old or 30, they're still coming from a generation where things were taught by tradition, but it's never too late to change. And also every bit of information just helps keep our pitchers safe, because if you don't rotate correctly, the glove arm action is about rotating correctly. And rotation is how you get velocity to the ball. There are 3 layers of that rotation. And if you're interrupting the top level of rotation, you're not going to get the forces to the shoulder that gets it to the ball. And that is what we're talking about. And the other issue is it's injury prevention, because pitchers that don't rotate correctly yet have more forces on their pitching shoulder and in the front, and we don't want that. So we are protecting the pitcher by teaching him to rotate correctly, and the glove arm is critical to rotating correctly. And it's a huge player in an error of rotation. And I can guarantee immediate results on the way the ball sounds when it hits the glove. He'll throw a heavier ball. It'll go faster, and the pitcher will absolutely love it because it's a natural movement. And what I always say is, you're not selling a pitcher a bill of goods. Like, do it this way, it works. When it's a natural movement, they love it right away. I've had pitchers say that they had to spend hours trying to bring their chest to the glove. That's unnatural. And that's your first sign that it's not the most efficient way because it doesn't follow normal movement patterns. So anyway, for all you coaches, so this segment is on the stopping of the glove arm at the sternum level or it getting caught in front of the trunk rather than it pulling alongside the body the way you would do a seated row or something in the gym like that. Does that all make sense to you, Joe? And did I say it clearly enough?
Oh, it definitely does. And again, I want to bring up, if you talk to a lot of pitching coaches today, they will tell you that they teach that in order to make sure that the pitcher has more control of his pitches. And that's the argument that, oh, yeah, you can do it another way, but by bringing your body to the glove, you'll have better command of your pitches. And I don't even know if that's true. And really, I just want to put a little exclamation point on something that you said. Everything that you talk about here on the show and what you teach is all based on the structure and the bones and body movement. Whereas almost all of the other things that you hear from a typical pitching coach is based on what people are seeing other pitchers do. And it's just kind of like theory. And it's, oh, well, I've seen, 90% of the successful pitchers all do this. And they just decide, well, because all of these successful pitchers are doing this, and we've seen it on high-speed analysis film and this and that, this is what these successful pitchers are doing. So therefore, it's something that all pitchers should do. And it doesn't follow any real logic other than, well, if he's doing it, then we should do it. And it doesn't always work out that way. And it takes someone like you with a special kind of a background, a special kind of knowledge of how the body moves to really be able to accurately describe what should be happening with pitching mechanics. It's not just, what you're talking about is not theory. It's not guesswork or just like, oh, well, I saw all these pitchers do it this way. No, you're actually basing this on how the body is supposed to move. And I just wanted to put a little exclamation point on that because I always have an issue with coaches and pitchers who think that they know what they're talking about when they really don't. And it's a little offensive, and in the end, it can hurt a pitcher.
And but in defense of the coaches, what they're talking, they actually think they know. And so it's because they haven't been given the information to change their minds. Do you know what I'm saying? So yes, you're absolutely right. And historically it has been, it worked for this guy, so let's do it this way. And so they're grabbing onto the information and the knowledge that they actually have. So my job is to help shift them and to give them new and more information. So yes, that point is really well taken. So excellent. Great.
Well, if there's a coach who agrees with doing things the right way and they know some pitchers or coaches that have other ideas, they should pass this podcast along to them. So then they have that knowledge.
Exactly. Great. Perfect.